Welcome to the World Trumpet TV, a world media ministry called to blow the trumpet, to call the unsaved, unreached millions back to God. In a world so broken, so hurting, and so lost, World Trumpet TV is taking the gospel of the kingdom to the nations, redigging the wells of revival and awakenings in North America, South America, Africa, Europe, and Asia, sounding the trumpet for the children of God to arise for a mighty global move of God. World Trumpet TV is at the center of bringing you God events as they happen worldwide, global evangelization, and international humanitarian social transformation missions in suffering nations. Together with our friends and partners, we believe this new decade will experience the greatest salvation the world has ever seen. Through our 24/7 inspiration programming via cable networks, satellite, smart TV, smart apps, social media, iPads and iPhones, etc., reaching the entire planet. Join the Trumpet TV family in bringing the lost, hurting millions back to God.
Welcome to World Trumpet Television again. I'm always excited to be in your home each week. And God has given us this opportunity to bring the message of hope. And my excitement all the time is that we are always given this opportunity to have guests that God sends to us from all over the world. But today is a special day, like I told you before. We have a special guest, our great ambassador, from Washington, D.C., that is with us today. And in the next few minutes, please invite somebody that would need to be able to hear a very impactful message from the ambassador of Uganda to the United States of America, Ambassador ROBIE KAKONGE. Your Excellency, good to be with you here today.
It's a pleasure. It's a wonderful opportunity to be with you.
It's a great time that I spent a great deal, of time with you when we're in D.C. And just within the short amount of time, just the words that you shared were so impactful. And so it's an honor for us to be with you today, that we're able to extend to our viewers, that you're doing, in the United States and also in the nation of Uganda as you represent, the mission. Share with us about the many things that, God has you doing right now, in your office in Washington, D.C.
Thank you. Thank you once again for this opportunity. And it's always a pleasure to represent the people and the country of Uganda. And as you know, our motto is for God and country. So I really feel like it's a wonderful opportunity to serve.
Yes.
And any time that you are appointed,
right.
and appointed through leadership, which
right.
is also appointed, I think it's an extra point of reflection.
Yeah.
But also, when we've seen in biblical times things that have to do with nations, with being away,
yeah.
they really have a certain meaning. And I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
I've lived half my life in America,
right.
and half my life in Uganda. I was born in Uganda, but because of war and other different things,
yeah.
I moved with my mom to Arizona.
Yeah.
And I grew up in Arizona. But even being, even having the opportunity to grow up in Arizona,
yeah.
in the desert,
yeah.
and in particular in Phoenix,
yeah.
The whole awareness, the whole regrowth, the
yeah.
whole rebirth, and then having the opportunity to go back to Uganda.
Yeah.
That's where I've been living the other half of my life.
Right.
And to see this Uganda thrive,
right.
despite the war, despite
right.
all these other things.
Yeah.
I would say that I'm beyond blessed to be a living testimony.
Yeah.
into what God can do.
Right.
Through people and through nations.
Yes.
Yes.
No, I'm so glad that you are able to touch on that, because yes, it is a testimony in itself to see, where the nation has come from. Mm-hmm. When we get to tell the world the story sometimes somebody told us, you tell that story with a smile on your face.
Yeah.
But it used to be a very bad story. Why do you smile at that part? Because somebody else would be crying.
Yes.
Because it's dramatic, it's bad, it's been put in a few movies, and it changes people's lives. You guys survived that, you know, to be here today. And out of that, Your Excellency, God raises you to be a leader. And share with us the journey that, you know, that that's brought you here to serve and lead and be able to share the many experiences of what God's, you know, done through you, because you're seeing it from a kingdom perspective, yet you are serving in a high mission in Washington, D.C. Yes,
it's definitely, it's one thing to do an ordinary job, you know, but it's also, it's another thing to do a job where you're not only appointed by the president, but Parliament has to approve, you know, because the president can appoint you, but then Parliament doesn't approve.
True,
you know?
Very true.
But then the president appoints you, Parliament approves, but also the host country has to approve.
Yeah.
So, and it also goes to show that where the Lord puts you, it must be a place that you appreciate, you know, before you even get there. It's like a preparation. Can you imagine what if in my days in Arizona I'd have done all sorts of things, you know, especially being young, and then they just at some point say no, you know, because they can't say no. It's not an automatic yes. So that's another thing also in like through all the like being like a younger version of me. You know, I was very daring and very like you never think you're going to be like an ambassador. But I think the closest thing I can say is you also many times we think about being a parent, right? We just think about being a parent, but we don't go through the process of what it will be like, the responsibilities of being a parent. So being an ambassador is, I'm the custodian on behalf of the president of not just Uganda, but Ugandans, you know, in the diaspora. And also America and Uganda, our relationship is 60 years in the making. So that is a mature relationship by any and all means. Very true. And we've had our ups and downs just like any other relationships. But it has to be a point where you continue to nurture the interests of both countries. And there will be times where we agree to disagree, you know, but you must, it's an awesome responsibility to even have some of the most difficult conversations on behalf of the country, but also some of the Ugandans in the diaspora. You know, some came here to go to school, others came here to work, and sometimes over the years, for one reason or another, things just don't work out. And you find that they're stuck, and sometimes there's a sense of like, there's a sense of lost, and there's a sense of shame, and there's a sense of, you know. So to be able to engage with them and say, yes, this has been home, but you still have a home, you know. And the other thing that government has done is that it has given a great blessing in that now it allows for dual citizenship. So you can be both a Ugandan American. You know, those days of not being able to have dual citizenship, you know, it's now a gift, you know, to be a citizen of both nations. So that's wonderful.
Wonderful. I'd like to touch on something that you just mentioned, and it deals with the understanding of leadership coming from God. And we are in a global leadership crisis because there's so many crises, you know, on a global scale. you know, and they're happening everywhere. You know, as a leader, that, you know, the opportunity you've had, you know, over the many years, what would be the advice that you would look into today's leaders on where we are? And you face those, they come into your office pretty much every day, you know, things that need to be solved from American standing point to Africa, or from Africa to the United States. And you as a leader, what would be the thought process that you navigate through that? And do you pray first, or how do you resolve when those things begin to happen?
You mentioned the word prayer, and prayer is a place to go to.
Right.
But it's also a place to always be, you know?
Yeah.
Because you can be in a room, and because sometimes you're invited in a room not to say anything.
Yeah.
You're invited just to be there because of diplomacy.
Yeah.
You know? So you may feel a certain way, you may think certain things.
Yeah.
But the invitation is simply to be there.
Right.
You know? So, like, let's say if you go to a diplomatic event, you know, there will be other speakers. As much as you may want to say something,
right,
your place is simply to be present,
yeah,
you know, and to represent your country.
Yeah.
Of course, there are other opportunities where you can follow up and you also speak,
right,
you know, and being a representative of His Excellency,
yeah,
I draw great strength in his leadership,
yeah,
especially in a crisis.
Yeah.
And he has exhibited great strength and courage,
yeah,
in terms of his leadership for Uganda.
Yeah.
First of all, on his own personal level,
yeah,
to be in a war in the bush for 5 years,
Yeah.
to literally put someone's life
on the line.
on the line,
Yeah.
you know, to have the audacity to think and
Yeah.
act and say, I am going to go with these young people,
Yeah.
and we're going to change this situation.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that change can be maybe like a mindset change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other times it can be a change, like a written change in a piece of paper.
Yeah.
But can you imagine that the determination of physically going and changing something,
Right.
with no guarantee?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, with no guarantee that you'll even be alive, that you'll
Yeah.
even be alive to see it, you know?
It's a providence of God.
Yes, yes.
It's a providence of God.
Exactly. And then when that happens, it's like accepting
Yeah.
that there has been both loss and gain.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure when people look at Uganda's history, you know, recent history, the war,
Yeah.
the HIV/AIDS, I mean, there's always like some sort of chain that needs
Right.
to be broken,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
But his leadership in saying, okay, this is HIV/AIDS,
Yeah.
you know, let's not hide our heads under the sand,
Right.
you know, let's do something about this. You
Yeah.
know? Then when it comes to leadership, even in women,
Yeah.
you know, if you look at America, they now have their first vice president woman,
Yeah.
right? We had ours it's almost 30 years ago.
30 years.
You know, and now we're in our second one.
Yes.
So drawing the collectiveness of family, of gender, you
Yeah.
know, and seeing that change is not done simply through one person,
Yeah.
but change is collective,
Right.
and his ability to work with other nations as well.
Right.
But for other nations to go to him for
Yeah.
guidance and
Yeah.
leadership.
Yeah.
If you look at where Uganda has been in terms of Somalia, but also being a refuge, you know, a place of refuge. Uganda is #1 in the world for hosting refugees.
Right.
We host more than 1 million refugees.
The refugees, yes.
And our refugee policy,
Yeah.
which the world is now looking at, is that these refugees actually coexist with the communities.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because he and other Ugandans, and we know what it's like to be refugees.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
sometimes this empathy comes from experience.
Yeah.
You know, and my one of the most humbling experiences in the DMV area. There are many East Africans, and also DMV by District of Columbia, Maryland,
yes.
and Virginia. You know, it's funny because you can say DMV and then someone says, "Oh, driving," the driving thing.
Here in Texas.
But yeah. But having said that, it is an extremely humbling experience when people say, "You're from Uganda," and I'll say yes, and they'll say, "You know, our last 5-6 years in Africa, we're in Uganda at these camps because that's where the International Organization of Migration brings them."
Brings them, yeah.
Yes, so that really was there. I met many Somalians, different East African members, and Uganda was like their last home.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So going back to what is it that an ambassador does and those responsibilities is really to make sure that it is an extension of our relationship with our immediate neighbors, also with Ugandans, but also with other world leaders, to learn from others, but also to be able to showcase and teach. You know? Yes.
So you shared so many things about, you know, the hospitality of a country, the solving the crises that we've been able to see, you know, in the country, and how we've come out of that. And what is God doing right now, you know, at this standing point in your life? We shared a little bit about some of the ideas that God has, you know, given you to bring, you know, not only just the diaspora, but to bring the body of Christ together. And our viewers, you know, most of them wanted to know your faith and how you came to know the Lord, you know, because we politically survey here in the U.S., we see our political leaders. But the one thing we hold back is what about, you know, what guides their faith, you know, to their decision they make every day. And so I'd like to extend that question to you, that our viewers will get to know that you're anchored and founded, you know, on the Word of God, and that's what guides you and in what you do and how you lead. Yeah.
First of all, I do appreciate and reflect on the fact that I come from a country, the Republic of Uganda, which is unapologetically faith-based.
Yes.
You know, and again, I think it's, you know, in God we trust. Even our national anthem, you know, has God. You know, even our president swears on the Bible. You know, when he's sworn in. You know. And then we coexist with other faiths. You know, we have the Baha'i, the Muslims. You know, I'm a Protestant. You know, but the Catholics. So we're interfaith. You know, and that's another thing when you look at the world, and that there's so many places where even faith is a point of conflict and a point of war. You know. But we're able to coexist. In 1 week, I can go to someone's house if it's Eid, and then, you know, if it's like Christmas, if it's like all those. And there's really no, even in the workplace, you don't like even at the embassy or in other places. We acknowledge these are the holidays, you know. If somebody has to go pray on Friday, then that's their prayer day. So basically, being able to coexist. And being able to be diplomatic about other people's faith. Yes.
No, it's wonderful to be. I know time's running out for you because you're supposed to be flying out, you know, a little bit. But we're thankful to, you know, to be with you. I remember one of the last questions that I had on here that came from one of our friends. I'd like to ask you that question. You know, as an ambassador in your capacity, you know, what message do you always bring to your other ambassadors of other countries? You know, because some of them may not relate to your faith, like you said, But when you're in these rooms and you've gone, like, the ambassadors' prayer breakfast and something like that, how do you relate with, with others?
Okay. One thing that I've observed in that in Uganda, many meetings start out with prayer, and having been in, like when I go to work and these other meetings, there's not necessarily like a prayer, right? But you can initiate, you can say, let's take a moment of silence, or you can pray, because God hears your prayers.
Yeah.
So you can literally pray before the meeting, you can pray after the meeting.
Right.
But also you can be a witness to goodness, You can be a witness and you can talk about the good things that are happening in your country,
right.
Around your country, and that's diplomacy,
right.
And being that voice. And when miracles happen, when we are one of the only countries in the world where America even changes its policies in terms of where you can land during Ebola,
Yeah.
And yet you're trying to do tourism. You're spending all your resources on tourism.
Yes.
You're spending, and then there's a travel advisory about this and that, It is amazing the power of God,
Involved
in how
in that.
all that can just end,
right.
And then those doors and the gates to our airport,
right.
It's almost like, we have the world's largest freshwater lake, and the source of the Nile is in Uganda.
Yeah.
So it's almost like this repeated cycle of healing,
the cycle
and
of blessing
renewal
comes out of
and blessings.
Yes.
And people don't get too. It's even been said that Ugandans were among one of the happiest people in the world.
Yeah.
And you'd think, how can you be happy when things are happening?
Yeah.
But see, we don't look at it as how can you be happy when things are happening. We look at it as how blessed we are.
Yeah.
That God moves us.
Yes.
From one mountain to another.
Yeah.
From one mountain
That's
to
a very
another.
key. That's very key right there.
So so you can literally find friends and families. They'll maybe like today they'll go to a funeral. But by the weekend they'll also be there for their friends and their family members. To go to a wedding. To celebrate like a life. You know.
Yes.
And one of the saddest things was when I went to church. They have those bands of marriage.
Yeah.
When you look at least at 10 people, you will see, it will say like the daughter of the late so and so and the daughter of the late so and so.
Yeah.
But it is a renewal in itself, in that they have decided to get married, to start a family, to start all over again. With God's blessings, in the union of marriage.
Yes.
So it's things like that over time, you don't even look back. You just say, okay, where's the next mountain? Where's the next opportunity?
Yeah.
And one of the things that you and I have been discussing is that now we have second, third generations of Ugandan Americans.
Yeah.
And if you look at even in the adversity that's been there, Uganda's remittances exceed FDI, foreign direct investment. So what does that tell us? That tells us that the nation that we are, people say, oh, but you're landlocked. We're not landlocked, We'd like to look at it as we're land-linked, So being land-linked, being that hub that's land-linked, that can feed a population of 300 million.
Yeah.
We can feed the whole region. We're the food basket of the whole region,
Yeah.
So what does that tell us in terms of what our young people can do? What is the next generation?
The potential there.
The potential there, I mean, people drink coffee every day, but very few people would imagine that coffee is among the best and is from Uganda.
Yeah.
So what other things can, can we do, there's innovation, there's AI, there's service industries. Then there's this God-given time in that we're 8-hour difference.
Yeah.
But if you're in the BOT, business and operation and processing, what you could do, you can actually have your work done in Uganda as you sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then by the time you wake up, you have all your...
Yes.
Yes, you have it can be edited, it can just be, billing, invoices.
Yeah.
So this is the next conversation that we'd like to have.
Right.
That after surviving all that, what can you continue to build, with what God has given you, but more importantly, with the skills that God has also given other Ugandans and friends of Uganda.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm so excited when you say that. What comes to my mind is the new mind of the future. And the new mind of the future is waiting for the right information, right strategies that are applicable to the language or the algorithm of our time. Because, like we started before, we live in a world that its problems are only rising, but not because they can't be solved. When you go back 80 years ago, the discovery of the moon and so many sciences on how to cure many diseases, there was a mind of that time. And that generation faced that obstacle head on, and many problems were solved. The ingenuity of, the Industrial Revolution, what is done, now we're in information technology. When you talk about the young people right now, the mind is open, but so are the distractions. I believe you believe that.
Yes.
And so I think, when our viewers see us, or even, back home in Uganda, they're going to realize that we've been given the greatest opportunity, not the problems we have, but the opportunity to solve them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be, sometimes in innovation, people think it has to be like this magical thing,
Right.
But it could be simple things, like I know you can live in America, for example. There's a time I lived in New York,
Yeah.
And it's buildings everywhere and nature's, not readily there. But we all need nature, So can you imagine if somebody were in Uganda just taking pictures, of those beautiful scenic, and posting them, and adding some music, some story. If I'm in New York, and it's available on my tab, or or if there's an app, I can just even if I pay $10 a month, to get unlimited, pictures. It's doing something for my mental health, It's doing something for nature, It's a transition. And we have so many young people. But also what this does, this helps us to tell Uganda's story.
True.
Because the traditional media, what they show, the Africa that they show, I don't even know that Africa sometimes.
Right. Right.
And just like some places in America that people would imagine, if they came here and they put them in those particular places, they would say, no, this isn't America, you know? So I think we have a fantastic opportunity.
We do.
To tell this story.
Right.
And, sometimes I think the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Right.
If you look at Moses, and what did he have? He had a tablet, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at today, what are we using?
We have a tablet.
Tablets, Except now with these tablets, you can change everything.
Right.
It's not written in stone. So we just have, like you're saying, we must be open and be thankful and ask God to continue showing us, and to have the courage,
Yeah.
Sometimes these things I don't know, but I'll ask my children, I'll say, hey, now this new, last time the phone, I was pressing here, now where do I record it? And we're not born with all the knowledge, but we surely can learn, and in that process, it can really be transformative.
We were driving with my uncle, And I said, out of First Nation, I said, you're looking at the plane because we don't live far from the airport. I said, look at the planes, look at the cars, look at the ecosystems of how the world lives, the mind behind all these creative ideas that we have.
Yes.
What is man that God's so mindful of him, what he's placed in us? And he said, go back to Genesis. That was the power of creation that God gave man. And man fell, but God redeemed him. So we're living in, and I know you agree with that, we're living in the most creative time in the history of the universe. And the only thing we pray for is that this creative force is not given to evil men.
Yes.
Because we have so evil men on the planet, that is given to the righteous people who can redeem the times we're living in.
Yes.
And that's the joy that we have.
That is excellent, because also and language really matters.
Yeah.
And if you look at like the key words for like these certain professions and skills,
Yeah.
what is it? It's content creation.
Yeah.
It's the creation of this content. you
Yeah.
know? So again, what does that tell us
Yeah.
when it comes to creativity? But again, and what you're saying is like, but how is this content? Is this content progressive?
Right. Yep.
Or is this content that is going to consume?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Consume us.
Yeah.
And steal our time and yet you could be using the same tool. At the end of the day, these are tools.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's.
Ambassador, we can't keep enough time with you. We'll have you back again to
Please.
dialogue more.
Yes.
But Your Excellency, we're so very delighted. What can people, a lot of people come to Uganda, they come to your embassy,
Yes.
and they're heading to Uganda. We were there. There were so many people who are lining in to get their visas. What is it that makes people love Uganda to go?
Again, I think it's a special place.
Yeah.
And I'll just share a quick story.
Yeah.
I had gone to the residence of the Croatian ambassador. They had a national day.
Yeah.
And what they do, they have like a priest who prays for them, for their functions. So we were talking with my husband, and then he said, "Oh, you're from Uganda?" And we said, "Yes." And then he said, there was a time that some priests had gone and they had asked the Pope, and they said, "Holy Spirit, or Holy Father, where is the Holy Spirit in the world right now?"
Yeah.
Then the Pope paused just for a minute.
Really?
And he closed his eyes and he said, "Uganda."
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
We were like, what?
Yes.
So, but I wasn't like, what? Because there's just something very special about Uganda. Yes.
So true. My friends, a lot of them go to Uganda.
Yes.
So this is a blessed country. Thank you. Thank you so much for giving us
Thank you very much.
this time. We're looking forward to being with you again. I know
Yes.
this town is looking forward to seeing you in a few weeks. You're
Yes.
going to Uganda. You're going to be with the president. Sometime?
Yeah, sometime.
Cool.
I'm going for consultations.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
And we really do want to thank every single person for their heart and love for Uganda.
Yes,
For
yes.
your friends. Next time, please bring another friend. You
Yes.
know, we have good food, great weather, good people, and just come and be a witness to
Lots
what
and lots of
God
minutes.
has done.
Lots and lots of ministry. Even actually what I noticed right after COVID,
Yes.
there's been more ministries, more people
Yes.
going to Uganda. And I'm like,
Yes.
what have you got? You keep blessing us. The revival hasn't stopped.
Yes, and we
So-
really welcome it. And one of these days, I hope we can do this interview in Uganda.
Yes, looking
Yes.
forward to that.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
What a
you very
blessing.
much.
Good
The
to be with you.
blessing is yours. Thank you.
World Trumpet Television, again, what a joy for us to be with you each week. Hey, tune in every day. You will be blessed continually, 24/7. God bless you. See you soon.
Welcome to the World Trumpet TV, a world media ministry called to blow the trumpet, to call the unsaved, unreached millions back to God. In a world so broken, so hurting, and so lost, World Trumpet TV is taking the gospel of the kingdom to the nations, redigging the wells of revival and awakenings in North America, South America, Africa, Europe, and Asia, sounding the trumpet for the children of God to arise for a mighty global move of God. World Trumpet TV is at the center of bringing you God events as they happen worldwide. global evangelization, and international humanitarian social transformation missions in suffering nations. Together with our friends and partners, we believe this new decade will experience the greatest salvation the world has ever seen. Through our 24/7 inspiration programming via cable networks, satellite, smart TVs, smart apps, social media, iPads and iPhones, etc., reaching the entire planet. Join the Trumpet TV family in bringing the lost, hurting millions back to God.